About It show. This is a segment where we talk about everything under the sun. Great topics we've been having in the past month. So I always tell everybody, this is where the time of the on the radio show where we actually bring in guests. We have right now we have Eric Helen, but before we get into that, we are going to actually introduce our co-host, our host, which is myself. But right now we are missing one, which is William. He's not going to be in today, but I'm going to be running the show today. So I always let everybody know where you can find me. My name is Clinton James, your local real estate broker here and in San Diego. And you can find me on the corner of Working on Myself Lane and Inspiring Others Drive. Let's get it. And we always taking over Taco Tuesdays. Let's talk about it Tuesday. So we have a special guest today. He is actually a real estate broker here in San Diego. Been practicing real estate for how many years now?
Got my license as an agent back in 2006.
Nice.
So I've been at it for a while, man.
Nice. So how many years is that? 2006.
Almost 20. I got 19.
20. You're almost legal,
I'm catching
man.
up with you, man.
You're almost legal. You're almost
Yes,
legal in
sir.
real estate. But yes, he has been doing amazing things in the real estate industry in the market here in San Diego. He's also the current president for the San Diego chapter of VREP. And we're going to be discussing a lot of things today about real estate and how the dream for real estate is not over. You know, a lot of people think that that dream for real estate is gone. No, it's still here. And we're going to be discussing ways and bring a real world experience for you and some experience in the market and in the industry of how we can get you there. Now, I'll let him introduce himself. Take it away, Eric.
Yeah, for sure. Well, no, first and foremost, I got to say thank you for having me on.
Yes.
I mean, it's an honor and a privilege, man. My name is Eric Halan. I'm originally born and raised in Sacramento, California.
Sac,
Yeah,
nice.
Sac Town. So,
Nice.
moved down here a few years ago, my wife and my kids. And,
Right.
But I was running my brokerage there, decided to open up another location here in
Okay.
San Diego and use that as my excuse to get out here.
I got you.
So it was a lot of kind of starting over, as far as like building a network. Didn't know anybody here. I had
Right.
one buddy of mine, actually, funny story. He was in the Navy, and he's a young guy, and he's like, you should come live with where I live. Bring the family. So okay, where you live? He's like, oh, Pacific Beach. I
Oh,
said, no, man,
right.
it's not the vibe I'm looking for. So I got a wife and kids, man. We're looking for good schools.
Right. Good school district.
Good
right.
school district, yeah.
Right.
So, man, we moved here, but, just meeting folks and getting connected to the community has been vital and been important. And
Right.
everything that we've done has been focused on helping first-time home buyers. And so
Yeah.
I know we're going to talk a little bit more about our organization and what we've done. But over the years, man, it's just been about, fulfilling that purpose, and helping people get into home ownership. And then, where do you go from there? So
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Like I said, it's a life purpose, and here to answer any questions and help anybody I can.
Awesome, man. So let's dive right into it, man, because you talked about coming here to California, Southern California, and some of your friends asked you to live on Pacific Beach. That's everybody's kind of dream when they think of Southern California, right? Well, one of the things is that for most people think that Southern California, they picture sunshine, palm trees. That's the I always thought when back in Trinidad I saw Baywatch. Like that's
There it is.
Baywatch, Southern California, right? But for first-time home buyers, it can feel like a storm cloud. What's a real picture when we talk about for housing in Southern California? What's the market like right now?
Well, the biggest thing right now is most people don't realize it's a great opportunity for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the listings that are on the market are sitting, and they've been
Yeah.
sitting there for a while.
Yep.
And so a lot of my listings, my sellers are saying, hey, bring me an offer. Let's put a deal together.
Yeah.
And what that means for first-time home buyers is that you have a seller who's probably more negotiable on price, so you
Right.
can probably get it lower than asking.
Right.
They're willing to give some credits, so whether that be for your closing costs, your agent fees, things of that nature, and they're willing to put a deal together.
Yeah.
So even though a lot of people talk about rates and, how rates are really high, rate is what you make of it. Because
That's
if
true.
you can actually get a seller to buy down your rate.
That's
And so
true.
there's opportunity. So
Yeah.
I think that is a very positive and strong market for first-time home buyers to take advantage of if they can get in and put a deal together.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that the same thing too. You're seeing like most houses, if it's not priced right, it's going to sit on the market.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's going to sit on the market. So I mean, buyers are being very cautious, and we have I would say, much more educated buyer today.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're very, I would say they're very rate conscious, but at the same time, too, it's all about educating them about how the process
Y-
of buying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when it comes to education too, I think there's sometimes some misguided information where,
Yeah.
like when I talked about rates,
Yeah.
everybody sees the headlines and thinks it's a crisis instead of an
Right.
opportunity, right?
Right.
And so when you've been in the business a very long time, like you have, like I have, you've seen rates where, sometimes rates got really high, 9%, 10%.
Exactly.
So it's not necessarily the rate that's the problem.
Right.
I often ask clients, who are saying, well, I don't want to buy a first house because I'm waiting for rates to drop.
Right.
I'm like, well, if they were 5% today, would you be ready?
Right.
Right. Let's get to it. Right. You don't have any savings. Your credit score is
Right.
still a 580. Like, what are we talking about here? It's not
Right.
rates that's the issue. It's all these other things that's making your rate high.
Right.
So,
exactly.
we have
It's
to
a
really
mindset
focus on
too.
that.
It's, it's all up here in the mind too.
Absolutely.
So that's great because one of the things about it is that we all have stories, man. Like especially in this for how long we've been in the business, we all have some real estate stories from clients, customers, things that happen in real estate that
Right.
you would never ever imagine, right? But can you share a story of a first time home buyer you recently helped? Maybe someone who didn't think homeownership was even possible here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's so many of them. But I got to go back to a client that we had who bought just about 2 years ago, actually, when they were moving here from New York,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you think about New York versus California, New York is like you live in a closet.
Right. Right. Right.
They were renting
a very
what we would
expensive
call
one too.
right. They were renting what we would call a closet here in California.
Right.
And so when they were moving here, they're like, "There's no way we're going to be able to afford this big house." We actually helped them buy in Temecula.
Right.
And at this time, it was very competitive.
Mm.
And so what I told them, I said, "Hey, here's what's going on. You're working with me. I'm going to get you into this house, and we're
Yeah.
going to do it the right way." They got pre-approved first and foremost. So that's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Hey, in order the builder was saying, in order for you to buy this house, you actually have to get in line, stay the night, and be a part of first come first serve."
Okay,
Now-
so wait. So,
Yeah.
don't bypass that yet. So they had this stay the night at the house or stay
Correct.
the night? Oh,
Not even
okay.
just a night. I'm talking about a week, a
Oh,
good
wow.
week or more.
Wow.
So what happened was they were releasing a new phase. So
Uh-huh.
this phase of the new construction was saying, "Hey, it's going to be released in about 2 weeks, but it's first come first serve. Whoever's parked in these spots gets these homes." So you can imagine my clients are in New York. They're trying to
Right.
buy a house here,
Yeah.
and they're like, "There's no way we can do that."
Yeah.
So what did I do? Brought my laptop, brought my little sleeping bag blanket. And I stayed the night. I stayed 2 nights
Hey, the
until my
things we
clients could
do,
get here,
man,
right?
That's awesome.
So you make it happen,
Yeah.
and that's what it takes. I
I
mean,
love
you got to
that.
have somebody, that's going to fight for you. It's going
Yeah.
to stay the night, make it happen. And then once my client was able to take some time off, he was a military family too. So
Yeah.
once he was here, I was just checking in on him. Do you need anything? Because you can't leave. You're there. Like, I'll run to Walmart. I'll go get you some food. What do you need? So.
Like a Black Friday sale, right?
Right. So you had to be there, man. But you do whatever it takes to get that first place.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's a great story right there, man. Yeah, I mean the stories. There's so many stories for me. I mean, I would say just my recent one where we took a year to get her into a property, and I mean with high rates and all the market, the swings and everything like that. And then the amount that she was actually qualified for wasn't in the vicinity of San Diego County, right? So, luckily she got opportunity to work, relocate with her job. She moved up to Marietta. So Hemet was right next door.
There you
So
go.
we started looking at Hemet. So I was like, hey, the dream is not dead. She was thinking about having to move all the way out of the state and all this stuff. But I mean, one of the things is that today she's a homeowner, right?
Right.
After over a year and doubt and all this stuff and the rates and all the views. And one thing I tell everybody is you need to shut the noise out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Yep.
there's a lot of noise out there. There's
Absolutely.
a lot of noise. And a lot of times for you got to look at your specific situation.
Yeah.
Because the timing is very important too.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though rates are going up and down, you don't know what's going to happen to you, to your situation.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
I would say the best time to buy is when you're qualified.
Yes, and quickly once you get
Right,
qualified.
Yes, when you get
Well,
qualified.
and going back to your story though, man, it's interesting to me. One thing that I've seen over the years is when you take that first step
Yeah.
to say, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do what I have to do. Let me listen to Clinton. Let me see what I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Once she started the process, things change, right?
Right.
And so when you're a man of faith, you think, okay, God's opening these doors. There's
Absolutely.
opportunities there.
Yeah.
New jobs come up. Pay raises come up.
Right.
And so I always try to encourage clients, like, just start the process.
Just
Let
start-
God work.
exactly.
just start,
Yes.
right? If your
Yes.
credit's not there, if you don't have the money for savings, whatever
Yeah.
the case may be, things are going to start to come together. It's
True.
weird like that.
Absolutely.
But once you take that first step, it just seems like everything else falls in line.
place, right? And buying a home is like you have to have faith today. Man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
you gotta dig deep for that faith. Like
Yes,
the
indeed.
mustard seed that said.
Tell my clients to drive by the house and pray over it. You know what I mean?
All that. All
Yes, sir.
that. Yeah. So what are some of the misconceptions you see at first-time home buyers bring to the table when they start their journey in this market? Because there's so many misconceptions, so many things that come with thinking, oh well, you know what, and then they come with not only the misconceptions of what they heard, they come with some baggage too,
Right.
you know,
Oh,
from
yeah.
buying. You know, it's like because
Yep.
they've experienced some stuff in the past, you know,
Yep.
now you got to get with that hump, and then you got to transition them into, oh yeah, you're renting, you're not renting anymore, you're gonna be paying a mortgage.
Right, right.
So what's some of the main misconceptions you always see first time home buyers bring to the table?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it seems like the same misconceptions that were there 20 years ago are here today.
Yeah, it's
Right?
crazy.
It's always like, I got to have perfect credit. I
Right.
got to have 20% down.
Right.
You know, once I buy the house, it's going to fall apart. You know,
Yeah.
there's all these things that they
Right.
think are going to be
The
happening.
market's going to crash.
The market's going to crash, right? Right? And so, in some ways, if you know the history of black home ownership, especially,
Yeah.
you look at why they think this way.
Right.
What are the things that have come against them? Because if we were around when 2008, 2009 happened, and how
Right. This is true.
disproportionately it
That is
impacted our people. And so I always look at, okay, there's some baggage there, but there's some well-meaning baggage. They've probably
Yeah.
gone through some stuff,
Right.
or they know somebody who has.
Right.
And so you got to give some grace there. But I think education comes along with that.
Yeah.
And say, okay, yes, that happened, and here's why it happened,
Right.
and here's why it's not going to happen again.
Exactly.
Because often people are like, I'm waiting on the market to crash. I'm
Right.
like, well, how many people are going to foreclosure? How many people are you hearing that are buying homes that they
man.
couldn't qualify for, right? So that was all stated income. That was you saying, hey, I make $30,000 a month, and
Right.
you didn't have to prove it to anybody.
Right.
It's not like that today. So,
I have the story where I used to go into the post office in Terrace where I live, and the postal guy in this post office, he's always asks me, he's like, hey, when's the market going to crash, man? I'm like, hey, if I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you,
Right?
I'll take advantage of it
I'd probably
myself.
tell you, yeah,
But
I would tell
then
you.
it was like years, so I'm like, hey, you know what? Hey, every time you ask me that, you know what? I'm thinking of charge you money because I can retire. You just ask me that. Every time you ask me that, I should charge you,
Right,
but
right.
the market has actually has changed a whole lot where there's so much like protective mechanisms in place.
Yep.
Right, because you'll get it's like you'll be forewarned before even you see that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
All the regulation that came into place
Exactly.
to rightfully protect consumers,
Yes,
and
yes.
consumers from minority markets,
Yes,
because
exactly.
they were taken advantage of.
They were.
And so, yeah, there's some baggage still left over,
Yeah.
but I just don't see the crash like we saw.
No.
Not to say that there won't
Yeah.
be some pullback.
Right.
That's just any market.
Right.
But I think, when people are thinking, oh, well, I'm waiting for rates to get to 2% and I'm waiting for prices to fall in half, it's
Right.
not going to happen. So
No.
you might as well put your money into a mutual fund and sit on it.
That's right. hey, talk that talk, man. Or some stocks or something.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we're going into the financial foundation and common challenges we see in real estate. We hear all the time that you need 20% down, right, to buy a home. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions that we have seen, especially in California.
Yes.
They say it takes 7 years for somebody to come up with with 20% down.
Yes.
The average income, based upon the average savings, it takes 7 years.
Ridiculous.
For somebody to come up with 20% down to purchase a home in California. Now, how true is that? Do you see that today, and how do you really debunk that misconception?
Yeah, I think, like you touched on, I'm sitting president this year for VA Rep.
Mhm.
VA Rep, what we do is we help educate the industry on the VA home loan benefit.
Right.
And so when people say, oh, you need 20% down and they're active duty, they're not
Right.
educated that they can buy a home with 0% down.
Right.
I'm also Native American.
Yeah.
So I'm on a tribal role.
Okay.
And one of the things that our tribe never taught us was that we have access to what's called a HUD 184 loan program.
Ooh.
HUD 184 loan program requires 2.25% down. It's only second best to that VA home loan, right?
Yeah.
So there are programs out there where you can put 0% down, 2.25, 3, and 3.5, which is the most important, or I would say
Right.
the most popular
Right.
FHA loan.
Yeah.
So there are programs out there that can help you get into a home.
Right.
I often hear, and you know, you hear advice online or from these financial professionals are like, oh, wait till you can put 20% down.
Right.
That might work in Tennessee. It's not going to work
Right,
here in California.
right.
Like you said, 7 years. By the time you wait 7 years, that home is
It's
almost
already,
double.
Yeah, you have to come up with another 10%.
Another
right?
10%, right. So home appreciation happens so fast here that it's important that you get your foot in the door, even with the minimal amount down,
Right.
and then let the appreciation work in your favor.
Right.
And so I think that that's the best advice that I can give to people who, you know, they're trying to figure out, I'm trying to save 20% for my dream home. No, save 3%
Right.
for that starter home.
Right.
Get in, let it appreciate, and turn that into a rental or sell it and buy the next one, whatever
Right.
you want to do.
Yeah.
But now the game is working in your favor instead of against you.
Right. And then there's so many grants out there.
Yes.
You know, there's so many grants
gosh.
out there, man. I
Yeah.
mean, and because they're really trying to push the first-time home buyer or help that first-time home buyer get into that home.
Right.
Because number one is you see like the banks. Not only you have grants from the banks, you also have grants from the city.
Yep.
You also have grants from nonprofits also.
Absolutely.
So I mean, there's a lot of help out there for you to actually be able to come up with that 20%.
Absolutely.
Not even 20% down, but I mean at least a down payment, a decent down payment.
Yeah.
For the home.
Yeah, I think, and we also have to go back to say, well, why are they pushing so hard for you to become a homeowner?
Right.
Right? Because once you become a homeowner, you become a taxpayer, right?
Right.
You're paying those property taxes that are taking care of the
Right.
roads and the schools.
Exactly.
And they want you to
Exactly.
own.
Right.
Plus, you go out and you shop. You're
Sure.
going to go to Home Depot to renovate your home. You're going to
That's
go
right.
and spend money in the economy as a homeowner.
Exactly.
So it's important for our government to support home ownership.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. They want you to become a homeowner. They're going
Right.
to do what they can to get you in.
So the government's not preventing you from becoming
Right.
a homeowner, right?
They need you to.
They need you to.
Yeah, it's a
So,
major part of our GDP.
Yeah. And so I mean, one of the things that we have to do is, as I say, as you keep on saying, is educate people about that, because I think that's one of the big misconceptions is that, number one, all the barriers that's in place. Now, we're not saying there aren't barriers.
For sure.
But there are more solutions than there are
Absolutely.
barriers, right? Out
Absolutely.
There. For young professionals or families living paycheck to paycheck, what are some of the realistic first steps to prepare financially?
That's a good one. Because at Homeowner Prep, we have these clients, right? And they're like,
Right.
I want to buy a house. And I always say, well, how much money do you make? They typically know how much money they make.
Right.
And I say, well, how much money are you spending? Now, that's a tougher question.
Yeah.
They don't know where that money's going.
Exactly.
Right? And so oftentimes my first step is a baby step.
Right.
Where's your money going? Let's set a budget.
Right.
Because if you don't know where your money's going, it doesn't matter how much money you
You make, right.
I've sat down with clients who make $30,000 who have financial problems, living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
I sat down with clients making $300,000
Right.
living paycheck
And
to
that's
paycheck.
crazy to me
It's the
sometimes.
same problem. They don't know where their money is
Right.
going.
Right.
And so you have to start there. So
Yeah.
let's figure out where's your money going, and then let's set up some type of small savings account, because the last thing I want you to do is get into a home and not be able to keep the home.
Keep the home, yes.
You know, if you don't have a small savings account, if you can't kind of weather the storm of a flat tire or something like that,
Right.
it's going to be very difficult for you to hold on to your home.
Exactly.
And so we don't need foreclosures. We don't need short sales. We need you to own home ownership. We need you to own your home and pass
Right.
it down.
Yeah, and that generates generational wealth, something that we always got you pushing a lot
Absolutely.
right now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So yeah, that's always my first step. You know,
Yeah.
aside from that, once I know that you're ready to go, it's like, okay, let's talk to a lender.
Yeah.
I have my loan license as well, but oftentimes what I try to do is give you a second opinion. Let's go
Yeah.
talk to somebody else. Let's see what they're saying, what they're
Yeah.
doing. Make sure you're getting the best program that's available for you.
Nice.
Because at the end of the day, you know, oftentimes people just want to jump on Zillow. They want to just jump on Redfin, right?
Right. Right.
Let's see where you're at. You know, don't
Exactly.
get your heart broken about that $1 million home that sold when your budget is $600,000. Right?
Right. And then one of the things that I tell everybody, all my clients, is that you're gonna build a new habit, right? Because you just keep in mind, you're moving from a mindset of a renter.
Absolutely.
No major responsibility, just pay and everything is there for you.
Yep.
The landlord takes care of everything. To you now becoming a homeowner, where all of every bill in that home belongs to you, right? So it's kind of like, but at the same time, too, everything that you're doing to prepare to become a homeowner, something that you have to continue on after. So if you're
Absolutely.
saving money, you're going to still be saving money, right?
Yep.
It doesn't stop because you buy a home.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? If you have a budget now, keep that budget. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It doesn't stop because you buy a home. You know, you own the home, right?
Absolutely.
It does. You're just building new habits that you're going to carry on to maintain and keep the home.
That's a great advice. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the absolute truth. It becomes so much easier. Like when I talk to clients, I'm like, hey, let's just start saving $100 a month.
Right.
Right? Because if you can't save $100 a month, you're not saving 1,000 a month.
Right.
And you're not saving 10,000 a month.
Right.
So we have to start with those small steps.
Small steps, yes.
Create the habits and then carry those habits through.
Yeah.
So absolutely, that's
Yeah.
sage advice.
Yeah. And so how do interest rates and credit scores play into buying power of first-time home buyers in Southern California? Because that's a big topic for everybody. Everybody's worried about interest rates. Everybody's watching the rates. I mean, everybody's
Everybody's an expert, right?
An economist.
Yeah.
You know, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, so one of the things I mean, a lot of try to tell my clients, especially first-time home buyers, is don't listen to all the noise, right?
Right.
But how would somebody but there's a way that you look at it in terms of you getting ready to buy a home, right?
Yeah.
How does the rate but affect you? How would you say rates and credit scores play to first time home buyers when they're looking to buy a home in Southern California?
Yeah, I think most people don't realize that rates change every day.
Right.
They've always changed every day. So just because somebody put out a headline saying that rates are this, by the time they put that headline out, it's probably changed.
That's true.
And so people have to realize that, the rate is important, yes. But when it comes down to it, we have this term in the industry called DTI. It's your debt to income ratio.
Yes.
That's what it breaks down to. It doesn't matter what today's rate is. If my income is so much greater than my current debts, I can qualify if it's double today's rate.
Right.
So we look at rates, but we don't understand our debts. We don't understand our budget. And then that's what impacts your buying power.
Sure.
So if your debt to income is saying, hey, you have $10,000 a month in income, you have $5,000 in debt, you're at a 50% DTI.
Right.
There's certain programs that you can qualify for with 50%.
Right.
Most often they want to see you at that 43, right? Or lower.
Right.
And so the higher your income, the lower your debt, the more home you can afford to purchase.
Right.
No matter what today's rates are.
Right.
So I often talk about that. Now, when credit score is different.
Right.
credit score takes some time. I always say credit score is very easy to mess up and very hard to rebuild.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true.
So, and unfortunately, our culture, we're not taught about credit score early.
Yeah.
And so, like, me and my wife, we decided to change all that. Like, when my daughter was 16, we added her to our credit cards, right?
Nice.
We want to
Nice.
establish credit for her early.
That's
so,
something I've been talking to my wife about.
yes,
too. It's
you
like,
got to
yeah,
start early.
yeah.
You got to establish, give her some good history. And
Yeah.
that way, it gives her an opportunity when she turns 18.
Yeah, because when they leave and they go out there, you know what I'm saying, they have at least some form. It's some form of credit history.
Absolutely.
Right, because that's so
Absolutely.
important
Yeah.
for them. Because I mean, when they're like bombarded I don't know if they still do it at the colleges where
They sure do. My daughter is on campus. My daughter's at USC, and they got all the tables set up, just ready. Yeah. We'll give you this shirt if you apply for this credit card.
And the thing about if you're not educated about it, you're gonna forfeit. 'Cause,
Absolutely.
it's money I'm getting to spend. Like,
Yeah, I'll never forget, like, because we had banking savings accounts, because
Yeah.
establishing a bank relationship is just as important.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to put money under my bed. Well, when it comes time to buy a house, we need to see where that money came from.
Right.
So you got to have a banking relationship as well. So we
Yeah.
established that with our kids as well. So when she went in, she's going off to college, she needs to open up her own checking account,
Right.
because we started with credit unions.
Yeah.
But at a major bank, we were like,
Yeah.
okay, let's open this up. Now they're offering you a credit card. They offered her a lot more than what we wanted her to have, right?
Okay.
So it's like, okay, let's get a smaller credit card so
Yeah.
that way you can use it, pay it off, use it, pay it off.
Right.
Like you said, the education is
Yeah,
part of that.
exactly.
And
Very
so
important.
that was important for us, is just start as early as you can. If you have
Yeah.
kids, if you weren't taught these things, teach your children,
That's
right?
true. That's
Don't
true.
just sit back and complain, oh, I was never taught this.
Yeah.
And no, now teach the next generation. There's no
That's very
excuse.
true. Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's things with credit that you have to establish early.
Right.
You got to have credit history.
Right.
You got to have different types of credit accounts.
Yeah.
I mean, all that plays into your credit score.
Yeah, and it plays into bringing down the price for them starting off early with not much income, right?
Right.
Because I mean, with a better credit, you
With
get
no
better
income.
rates, right. I tell people I've 4 broke best friends, all my kids. They're
Right. Exactly.
right.
Yes. They got the most needs and
Right.
the least amount of money.
right. But so how young can you put I mean, I know I'm hearing that 16 is the age, right?
Yeah,
But
16
can
as
you
an
do it any
authorized
younger?
user. I don't know if they can do it any younger. I was told 16. We added her when she was 16. and they're an authorized user. And so you can do this as an adult. You can add, I mean, it's kind of like one of those credit hacks that people say, and they're kind of shutting this down. But if you know somebody who has great credit and you need
Yeah.
to rebuild your credit, you can be added as an authorized user to their credit card as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's kind of changing. So that, credit is changing in general.
Yeah, it is.
There's a
It
lot
is.
of things like you can report your cell phone bill now.
Right.
You can report your rent.
Rent,
You can,
right, that's
you can
big,
do
yeah.
things to really build your credit. So
Yeah.
don't feel like you have to have a credit card or those types of things,
Yeah.
but it helps. Like I
Yeah.
said, different types of credit help your overall score.
Yeah.
But yeah, 16, set up as an authorized user,
Mm-hmm.
open up an account. My kids had vending machines, so like they was like,
Nice.
let's learn about supply and
Right,
demand.
right.
Let's learn about these different things. So
Supply chain.
yeah,
That's
it's
good.
just
That's
the
good. Yeah,
education,
yeah.
man. You just got to educate as much as you can. If
Yeah.
you didn't learn it, there's no excuse. You got Dr. Google, you got
Yeah.
YouTube,
You got
know,
ChatGPT.
you got
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
there's ways that you can learn how to do these things the right way.
Hey, that's awesome, man. That's an awesome topic that you just raised because I think everybody, a lot of people don't know that, but at the same time, to just get putting that information out there. And one of the things that I'm thinking that kind of falls in line with that is that with the new initiatives that NARAB is actually rolling out is going into the Black student unions in high school to teach financial literacy in real estate.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the great things because that not only we always think of okay, well, we need to do it, we didn't do it, but at the same time we gotta always be thinking of the next generation.
Absolutely.
Right. We don't. I mean, we might not be always finance, but we can give them the knowledge.
Yep.
Right. And yeah, so I mean that's great, man. So can you share a moment when creative financing, right, or a little known program made a huge difference for one of your clients? Like I mean, creative financing is something that a lot of people can use to buy real estate, even though when they have like say bad like their credit's not the best. Well, that's one of the ways like when on somebody else's credit line, as you mentioned, is also a way of being
Yeah.
creative financing.
Absolutely.
But one of the things I always talk about is that we see that number one in our community that we see that we have baby boomers who are now actually passing the property on to not just their heirs, which is their kids and kids. A lot of them in a position where they can't purchase it or
Right.
they don't have the finances to purchase it. One of the things that I've always suggested is that why not do some form of creative financing within the family,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Because that keeps the home in the family, and it also it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
The owners of the home get the value of the home. They might get it now, but they might get it later.
Right.
But then on top of that, you're able to actually now invest in the home through like maybe
Absolutely.
some form of like seller carry
Sell
back,
and carry. Yeah,
something like that.
absolutely. Yeah, I think most like first-time homebuyers, they don't know that these things are available to them.
Right.
So like a seller carryback means, hey, basically you're not coming in with a down payment. The seller,
Right.
you have a note to the seller, and you're
Right.
paying that in addition to your mortgage payment.
Right.
And so it pays them back, and so you can kind of come in with 0% down,
Right.
if you would, kind of carry a second. So that's a seller carryback. Most people don't even know, like even with FHA, you can have family give you a gift.
Right.
Right. So if you need to come up with 3.5%, you can actually have your family give you a gift of 3.5%.
Right.
So now you're not coming out with any money out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And so, there are ways to keep, like you said, the family, the legacy, the property in the family. The worst thing to do is to sell grandma's home, right? I know
Right.
it's something we educate and we talk about a
Yeah.
lot. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to cut off the golden goose.
Yeah.
And there's so many ways for you to refinance a property, for you to take equity out, use it to buy another property. So you don't have to sell that home in order to leverage that home.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, first-time home buyers don't necessarily know these things.
Right.
And so you got to work with experts who do this for a living.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
your part-time agents. Who are your real estate agents? Who are your loan officers that you're going to work with that
Right.
know about these programs
Exactly.
and how to get you into that home?
Right.
I think that's vital.
even assuming the loan.
Absolutely.
They might have a loan on the home. you can
FHA,
assume-
VA,
yeah, you
yep,
can assume it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
You can
so-
assume those loans, and you can get that 2.5%, 3% if you want to.
Right. 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 If you want that rate that doesn't exist anymore,
Right,
you can
right.
get that too. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Awesome, man. So these are things that we're talking about, but we're touching on a lot because number one, we seen that, as I said, the mindset is that the dream is dead. Homeownership, the dream is dead. So because everybody's listening to all the news and stuff out there. So now we move on to like the neighbors, lifestyles, and the value. Okay, so What I mean, some of the areas in Southern California are becoming hidden gems for first-time home buyers. Um, one of the things that I want to mention is the San Diego Housing Commission,
Hmm.
because I started getting a lot of like leads about from the San because they had listed a brand new home that it built. I think it was a development in Spring Valley, but they had actually priced it below, like
Right below market
yeah,
value.
right below
Hmm.
market, but there was a second in it.
Yep.
But now they had the second required that program required people to actually qualify based upon income and family size,
Sure.
right?
Yep.
So I mean, some of the things that people look at, like what are some of the hidden gems for first time home buyers you'll find in Southern California, because we have those little pockets of areas in San Diego that people
I got it's a
yeah,
catch 22. I got
right,
something to say about that, but
because
yeah.
because one of the things is that people always say, "Oh, San Diego is so unaffordable," right?
Right.
When we look at the average, they're looking at 800,000,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So anything that hits below 4 inches, like it gets hit consistently.
Yep.
So and the reason why I brought that story before, right about before, is that number one, there are areas where it is affordable still in San Diego.
Absolutely.
Right, where you can still buy a single family residence or maybe even start a condo.
Absolutely.
Townhome
Yep.
in San Diego. Not all the homes are priced at 800.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. I go back and forth about this, and I tie it to, you know, being a minority. Sometimes we self-segregate.
Right.
And so we feel safe in our communities, and that's
Right.
where we want to be. But oftentimes, those communities are taken advantage of by investors who are coming
That's
in
true.
or whatever. So they call them opportunity zones, right?
Right,
This is the key
exactly.
word that they're calling these. They're basically calling all investors to come and buy these
Right.
properties up and renovate them and then raise prices. That's
Yeah.
what's happening. We're not going to sugarcoat it. Then you have what's called LMI. So if you look at low to moderate income neighborhoods,
Right.
you can literally place that map over the redlining map from the 50s and
50s,
60s
and that's
and see the
crazy.
same neighborhoods.
That's crazy.
Right? So they're trying to keep you in these
Yeah.
neighborhoods. They're
Yeah.
trying to incentivize you to stay put.
Right.
And so we as a people, we have to kind of get out of these communities.
Yeah.
I'm in North County. I have a listing in Escondido. The listing is $399 for a
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
condo.
wow.
Okay. So this is that first step.
Yeah.
Get into a condo in Escondido. Maybe you don't want to live in Escondido all your
Right.
life. That's up to you.
Right.
But if that's your first step to then turn that into a rental and buy the next property,
Right.
that gives you an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you don't have to stay put in these little
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
And so that's my problem with a lot of these types of programs that come out. They're
Yeah.
very centralized to keep
Right.
people where they've already
Yeah.
been.
Yeah.
And so we as a people can be wherever we want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nothing
Exactly.
holding you to
Yeah.
a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yes, you have friends. Yes, you have family. But guess what? They can travel too,
That's
right?
true. That's
So we got to just look at opportunities outside of the areas. There are programs that can still, like Escondido will have its own programs.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at like Spring Valley, and that's one community. But then you have, different, like you said, the San Diego Housing Commission.
Right.
They also have down payment assistance in Escondido or
Right.
San Marcos or
Right.
wherever you want to go. So, just kind of explore the options that are out there.
Yeah.
See what's out there. Another thing I'll touch on with that is, as a people, we have to kind of look at these programs and take advantage of them
That's
while we
true.
can.
That is true.
Some of these programs that were catered for minority communities are no longer catered to minority communities
Yeah,
because they've been sued, and now they have to
Right.
open the door for everybody.
Right.
And so these things where they had good intentions
Yeah.
to help the people who have been hurt the most due to FHA and VA
VA
and USDA and go down the list, right?
Yeah.
But then as soon as there's a program specifically for our community, now it's a problem.
Right.
And so now they get sued, and now they lose the benefit of only catering to that market.
Right.
So we got to take advantage of any of these programs that are
Yeah.
out there. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of first-time homebuyer programs.
Right.
They run out of money,
That's
or
true.
they close down. Like
Right.
you got to take advantage of them while
Right.
they're still
There's-
available.
Yeah. Where would they get that knowledge from, especially when it comes to those programs, especially like say the San Diego Housing Commission? Is it one space to get that knowledge from in San Diego?
San Diego Foundation was part of that San Diego Housing Commission program that
Yeah.
they were running. There's another source, like the California Association of Realtors has a search.
Right.
Right. So you can literally search for down payment
Yes,
programs.
that is true.
So
That is
I
true.
would go there.
Yeah.
And they're running from another source that I was using way back in the day called
Yeah.
Down Payment Resource.
Yeah.
But they're kind of just an overlay of that for the California Association
Okay.
of Realtors. So you can go to Google, type in California Association of Realtors down
Right.
payment search,
Nice.
and literally you can plug in your information like your household size,
Yeah.
if you're a
Income.
veteran,
Yeah.
your income, things of that nature, and
Yep.
then it'll produce a list of the programs that you can qualify
Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people are always asking about that. And now, not all the programs that there like can qualify for, but there, I would say is like if you are searching based upon those programs, talk to a loan officer,
For
right?
sure.
Your loan officer also will have a list of programs for
Right.
you to actually see where. Because I would say the goal is for us to do this. Is like I'm more on the real estate side, but I'll tell everybody, it's like we got is when you go to the doctor.
Right.
You get diagnosed before they prescribe anything to you, right?
Yep.
I'm the pharmacist basically.
Absolutely.
All right. So I mean, the loan officer is going to be the doctor. He has to diagnose your
Right.
financial situation and
Yep.
then prescribe a solution. And then the will you go to the pharmacist, which is me, and I'll give you the prescription, which
Right.
which is what type of home you can qualify for.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first steps is always talking to that loan officer to figure out number one, where are you on in terms of your financial diagnosis? Because once they figure that out, the one thing I've realized is that is now you can see exactly, okay, well, maybe I need to adjust these things here, or maybe I can adjust these things to get a higher loan limit, bring my rate down, increase my credit score, because all these things are what's going to show.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I would,
Yeah. And in that scenario, I mean, if you look at loan officers versus a real estate agent, you need one real estate agent.
right.
That one real estate agent has access to every property that's on the market.
Right.
Oftentimes they have access to stuff that hasn't hit the market yet.
Exactly.
When you talk to a
Exactly.
loan officer, I always suggest that you talk to multiple because
Yeah.
certain loan officers have certain programs,
That's true.
right? If I talk to somebody at Bank of America, they can only give me
Yeah,
what
yeah,
Bank of America
yeah,
offers.
Yeah, the corporate side.
Yeah, if I talk to a broker who has, say, UWM, and I know these things don't mean to people, but us in the industry, we know,
Yeah.
like, okay, now this is a broker who has these programs.
Right.
Then you got another broker who has access to Rocket programs,
Right.
right? And they don't talk to each other, right? So you got to talk to multiple people on the loan side because there's so many programs out there
Right.
that they have access to,
Right.
but you only need one agent. That one agent can help you throughout the county, throughout the state. Now, if you want to buy a house in Texas, we'll refer you to somebody,
That's true.
or if an
Yeah.
agent has a license in Texas or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. So you got to look at, okay, I need to talk to multiple loan officers, figure out what's the best program for me, and then I can go to my agent, and my agent can find the best house for me within my budget.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, so we'll continue the discussion on lifestyle and value. How do first-time home buyers balance the lifestyle goals, like proximity to work or the beach, with affordability? Because I mean, we're talking about everybody who comes to California always thinks, "Oh, I want to live near the beach," right?
Yeah, I had that thought.
Right,
Yeah.
you know, and so it's until they have to pay the beach prices, right?
Or, yeah, there could be other things, but yep.
The crazy thing is that I learned that 5 miles from the coastline is considered in California waterfront property.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, so I mean, it's kind of like 5 miles. Man, like,
quite- yeah, I
like-
can't see it from here.
It's like, but when you really look at it, it's like so true. It's like, man, like people are paying premium prices.
Right.
I mean,
Yep.
I would say 5 miles, but I mean, I would say like at least 2 miles in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Premium prices on all up and down California's coast.
Yeah.
Right. Once you live near the coast. So I mean, how will I mean, one of the things that I tend to tell my clients is this: is that your dream home is not going to be your first home most of the time.
Thank you.
Right.
Say it again.
Your dream home is not going to be that first home. When I speak with them, I always tell them, well, tell me what you envision. Leave all holes barred. If you had all the money in the world, what type of home, and let me know what you wanted at home and what the things. And they go off and they'll be like, well, they're looking over the beach, you know, like, can walk down to the
Yeah,
surf, you know,
of course.
you
Yeah.
know,
Who wouldn't?
because I just want to hear. I mean, it gives me an understanding of what they think of in
Right.
terms of the grand scale of things, or their dreams and goals.
Yeah.
Right. Or what
In,
they like.
in our community, we have a saying called "champagne tastes with Kool-Aid money."
Right. I like that. Right. Caviar with a summer budget, right?
Yes, indeed. And there's nothing wrong with
Right.
having that vision, right?
Right.
But like you said, maybe it's not the first house, maybe it's not the fifth, but eventually,
Right.
how do we get you there with a plan?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like, I mean, especially in California, I always say it's like number one, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
California is that state now where you have to start. It's a step up basis,
Mhm.
right? So I mean, it's kind of like if you're buying your first home, you might not get everything you want. You have to give. You have to give, and some. Everything is negotiable, right? But at the same time, you have to decide what you really want,
Right.
and what you really need at the
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's one of the things in California is that you have to learn how to separate those, right? So
Right.
you might not get the home that you want the first time, but it's an opportunity for you to own because we know the value of home real estate in California. Why all the investors come to California? It's because I always say it's like, hey, think about it like this: investors flood to California. Even the big investors come to California. Why? Is because the margin,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
The margin. If they say if you buy a home today that was vacant and you move into it, you don't have to do anything to that home. Just move into it. It goes up by 1% across the board. So think about it. 1% of 800 compared to 1% of 300.
Yeah,
Right.
I always say, I always say, when you buy a house in California, you instantly give yourself a raise.
Right.
Right? Because,
Yeah.
and I've owned homes like literally for like 3 years. And being in the business, we buy and sell,
Right.
and we invest. But I've lived in a home and literally it went up $100,000 a year.
Right.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I didn't change not one tile in that house. Right. I didn't do anything in that
Right.
house, but it consistently went up. Now it won't always go up, but over time it does.
Yeah.
Right. So again, you're talking about percentages.
Right.
4% in California is very different from 4% in Texas.
Right.
And so that's what you have to look at. So, okay, I can get in this house, give myself a raise better than any raise I'm going to get at the job.
Right.
And I can utilize that. The word is leverage that
Right.
raise
Yeah.
to buy another property or to
Yeah.
invest or do whatever I want,
Yeah.
pay for my child's education, whatever
That's
it
true.
is. So,
Very true.
yeah, I mean, you got to get you got to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
I always laugh when people say, I want to see the ocean, right? Because you mentioned like being on the coast.
Right.
And I'm like, when you go to San Marcos, you can go to San Leo Hills, you go up the hill,
Right.
and you can see the ocean from
Right.
there.
Right.
Does that count?
Right.
Right?
Or you can start inland in El Cajon and then make your way up.
Yes,
Right, make your way west.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And those are the things that people have to understand with California now and how you buy homes, right? It's just getting your foot in
Yeah.
the door.
Yeah, and I use our situation as an example. When we moved from Sacramento, of course, we're coming to San Diego because we want to be near the water.
Right.
Right. So the first thing we do is we go and we look in La Jolla because every time we came to San Diego, we went to La Jolla. Right. That's the visitors. That's where all the tourists go. Then we
Right.
started driving around there, and it wasn't that we couldn't afford to live there because we
Yeah.
only looked for a condo. But the issue was all the tourists,
Right,
the
everybody.
traffic.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, those are problems now because
Yeah.
now you're living there, right?
That's true.
Then we looked at, okay, what are the schools like over there? So we started
Right.
hearing about how schools are in these neighborhoods. So then we start moving a little more
Yeah.
inland because they have better schools in the
Right.
Poway School District.
School district,
So
yes.
so it changes your perspective. You might say, oh, I want to be right on the water because of this.
Yeah.
But then once you start to get a little bit more information about traffic and
Right.
Tourist spots and
Exactly.
schools and
On
crime.
On
and,
weekends and holidays.
yes,
you know?
yes, it'd be a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah,
Your
so-
driveway's blocked.
right. Every day you got to go out
Right.
there and deal with that. So yeah, it changes.
Yes, yes, and that's California too, right? So one of the things is can you we go down to still on neighborhood and lifestyles and stuff. Are there particular cities and counties offering better incentives or value right now?
You mentioned Hemet. Hemet,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're willing to go up that way, you're
Right.
definitely going to get more value.
Right.
We helped a client who actually qualified for the Cal HFA Shared Appreciation Program the first time it launched, so
Yeah.
when it first released. And we were already in the process of looking. And once we saw that they could use that program, they took advantage of it in Hemet. And so when you look at California programs, you can use those anywhere, right? But there are some areas where you're just going to get more bang for your buck, more
Yeah.
land
Yeah.
if you're looking for land. I mean,
Right.
I've helped clients move to Ramona, and I helped them move back. Because it's like, you think you want 5 acres until you got to take care of 5
You got to
acres.
pay the flood and the fire insurance too, right?
Right. So that fire insurance comes into play.
Right.
So, obviously, yeah, you can get more land for your buck. And I always
Right.
say buy land because they're not making any more of it.
Right.
But you got to look at, okay, is this something I'm going to take care of long term?
Right.
Is it, truly what I want? Or is that just what I think I want?
Right.
So talking to a knowledgeable agent about communities and neighborhoods really helps out. Drive by at night, drive there on the weekends,
Right.
Go and see these places and make sure,
Yeah.
because buying a home is a big decision.
Yeah, that driving by at night. I was telling my clients, some neighbors like Jekyll and Hyde. They're great,
Oh,
quiet,
yeah.
quiet in the morning,
Yes.
until the nighttime hits.
Yeah, exactly.
and,
You see people hanging out in front of that house. You're like, okay.
Right.
I showed a house. Funny story. I was showing a house to a client, and the cops were there. I don't know what the drama was. This was before I moved to San Diego, And the cops are out in front of the house. They got something went on at the neighbor's house. So before my client gets there, I get out. You know, you're gonna go open it up.
Yeah.
And the police officer, he says, "Oh, are you showing this house? Are you a real estate agent?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm showing it to a client." He's like, he just looked at me and said, "Don't let your client move here." He just shook his head like he works that beat and he knew that neighborhood a lot better than even I would as an agent. And he's like, "Don't do it."
Yeah, I know. I mean, and that's the thing. You try. I mean, it's kind of like we can't control that. Those things that we can't control.
No.
We can tell you, and I never tell somebody, "Hey, this is a safe name." We can't say those things, right? Now, I mean, even with a story, my story was that we had just shown out. So I'm not gonna call the neighborhood, but it was just showing out.
I can bust him out.
And the way out, road was clear, beautiful day. You know, it's new development in the middle of a up and coming neighborhood. Showed the house, they loved it. All right, so I'm like, yeah, I'm driving back home. Say I'm gonna write up the offer. As soon as we hit the main road, traffic. I'm like, it's like a parking lot. Not only is like a parking lot, it's like it's unusual, right? Then in the distance, you're seeing all the police officers.
The ghetto bird was out.
I'm like, this, it might not be nothing, you know what I'm saying? But I went home and I saw when I looked it up. I'm like, I said, let me look up because I was stuck in traffic.
Well, yeah,
wow.
what happened? Something went down. Yeah.
Murder. I'm like, oh man. Yeah. I'm like, oh gosh. I hope she doesn't look it up.
Right. That's the thing.
And then the phone call came the next day. I don't think we want to live there.
Right.
They tell me why, but I can't guess that.
Yeah, she saw the headlines. Yeah.
She did the same thing I did. But,
right.
So I was like, yeah, I was kind of expecting it. So let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, all the better. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's always good. I mean, even with I read in the Wall Street Journal too that that's a new trend right now, especially in the wealthy neighborhoods where people are now being asking to live in the home. Especially if they're buying these huge mansions and stuff, they want to live in the home.
Test drive it.
So they'll rent out these homes for like close to $250,000. Especially when you buy it's none the drop in the bucket to them.
Right.
But I mean, end of the day, it's like they want to make sure that if they're going to invest all this money into a home, it feels right to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's something that sells an offering on that luxury market too. You can stay in the home for a certain price for a month or two. I'll take it off the market. You stay in the home.
Try it out.
And try it out.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think oftentimes, like, buying a house is a big decision.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. But you have to realize that it's not a permanent decision.
Right.
When I was helping clients back in 2008, 2009, if I got into a situation that I was just like, I didn't sell them the house, but they were saying, hey, we're having a hard time paying this, mortgage, and we might need to short sell it, whatever the case may be. And then they're having these marital issues, right? So now it's becoming, because finances is the number one reason for divorce.
Right.
I always told them it's bigger than the house.
Right.
You got to get out of this house.
Right.
You can't mess up your marriage due to this house. You can come back. You guys can come back together and buy a house in the future. Yeah. But if this house is destroying the relationship, that's a problem.
That is the problem.
So I always say it's not permanent. Even if you get into a house that you don't like and you're a year into it, 2 years into it, put it on the market, rent it out. If you got to go rent somewhere while that's rented until the market comes back, whatever you got to do, it's not a permanent decision.
It's important that you mention that because there's so many people caught up in that where one person wants to sell, one person wants to keep it, and they're slowly going underwater. You know, I'm like, but that's the thing. It's like a lot in that person's mind. It's like, oh, this was my life dream to own a home, but at the same time,
going down with the ship.
Yeah, it's like, it's better to save the credit and the debt for another day.
Absolutely.
So,
you can always bounce back. People who have gone through that foreclosure in 2008, 2009, they're homeowners now. They own multiple homes.
Absolutely.
So even though you foreclose, even if you've been through bankruptcy, all these things happen, and you can bounce back from it. But bouncing back from divorce is tough. I haven't personally experienced it, but I heard it's tough.
I have. And trust me, it is tough. Can't say it is easy. To make it easy. But it's tough. It's tough.
Yes.
So we're going on to faith, motivation, and mindset. Owning a home is more than just a financial move. As we just mentioned, it's an act of faith because now you have to have a vision, right? How do you encourage your clients to step out in faith when the numbers seem intimidating? Because that's the main thing. A lot of people get sticker shock.
Right.
Especially when they're coming from out of state.
Yes,
right?
indeed. Yeah.
So they get sticker shock and they're like, wow, because they're comparing everything to where they came from, right? But I mean, and even you're hearing that a lot of even the new generation, millennials, have kind of given up on
Yeah.
owning a home,
Yeah.
right? Not understanding that number one, the dream is still available, it's
Yeah.
still there, you know.
Absolutely.
So I mean, how do you encourage your clients to just keep the faith in that?
Yeah. It's a great question because in my professional bio, before I speak at events, it literally says that I'm inspiring hope and generational wealth,
Right,
right? Because it's so important that you have hope.
right.
If you don't have hope, then there's nothing much I can do for you.
Oh no,
You know?
yeah.
I can't force you to buy a house.
Yeah.
I can't force you to invest in the real estate market or invest in the stock market, right? You have to have hope in these things, you know,
Yeah.
to say, look, God, here's what I'm doing with your finances, with your money,
Right.
and here's how I'm going to reinvest it. I'm going to be a steward over it.
Right.
And so you have to understand that, okay, I have to be hopeful in this situation.
Right.
The key is having a plan.
That's true.
To take that first
Yeah.
step and have a plan. Because
Yeah.
even if you apply to get a loan approval and the lender says, no, you're not approved.
Right.
I don't work with lenders who just tell you no.
No, right.
My lenders are going to say, here's how you do it. If you do A, B, and C, I can get you there.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a game plan that we have.
Right.
It also goes back to a book that I read by Robert Kiyosaki, and he said, you never say, I can't afford this.
Right.
You say, how can I afford
it?
this?
Great book. Great book, man. I encourage everybody who's looking to buy a home, read that book.
Yes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Dad.
Yes, yeah. So you have to come with that same mindset. Okay, I can't afford this right now. How can I afford this? Right? That's a different conversation.
Right.
Right. So it brings about hope in that conversation.
Right.
So you got to stay positive, and even if it's not, it's never a no. It's just maybe a not yet.
Yeah.
you
Not
know.
right now.
Not right now. Not right now. You know.
Yeah, I mean that is so very very poignant and true right now, especially when we see that whole generation of giving up. I mean, and a lot of them are angry. Right,
Yeah, disenfranchised. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
They feel like they're disenfranchised.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things is that it's not only faith, but I mean one of the things is that is actions too, right?
Yep.
Because I mean now more than ever, you see that there's ways in which we can come in and help you, but at the same time, if you don't have the mindset, where number one, because I always go back to this story that and sometimes I tell my clients. When I first came from Trinidad, my coach picked me up at the airport, and I was a walk-on coming from another country. Didn't know if I made the team yet. But one of the things he in the car driving, he said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to fight for you, and I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight with you, and I'm going to fight for you to make sure that we get to the goal of making the team. But I'm not going to fight you for you.
There you go.
So you gotta want it more than I want it for you.
Absolutely.
I want this for you, but you gotta want it more than I do, because
That's
I can't be
great.
pulling you to get this. You'll
Yep.
never enjoy it. You'll never want it. You'll never really get there, right?
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things I tell my clients. You gotta want it more than I do. I want to see anybody who comes to me in a home to asking or inquiring about buying a home. My goal is to get you there,
Yeah. Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
But at the same time, too, I want to see your motivation
Yeah.
there too.
And,
you know?
and your hope and passion comes from you helping multiple clients
Right.
like them.
Right.
Right. So they don't get to see what we see every day.
Right.
We see people accomplish their goals and their dreams.
Right.
We see people getting into homes when they didn't think it was possible.
Right.
But they haven't. So they haven't experienced that.
Right.
And so we're communicating this process to them like, hey, I've done it before.
Right.
I can do it again.
Right.
But you got to be on board. Like you said, I'm
Absolutely.
not going to pull you along.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you're going to blame me for every
Right,
step of the way.
everything.
I can't build my career that way.
I'll come in all these homes. It's not in my price range.
Exactly. So yeah, they got to be an integral
Right.
part of this plan.
Right.
You know, to say, okay, I want it and I want your help.
Yeah.
You know, so that and that's for anything. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I wanted to make a shirt because I was like, you know, I just read this book. It's called The Plunder of Black Wealth in America. Impactful book, but it just tripped me out that, you know, when you think about black home ownership and all that we've had to go through
Right.
in order to have the ability to own,
Right.
and for women in our generations to own, because
Right.
oftentimes it's like it's grandma who owns the home,
Right.
right?
And right now.
Because they outlive us.
Right.
So, you know, when you think about all those things, I was like, man, black home ownership is a modern day miracle,
Yeah, it
right?
is. It
There's
is.
so much that goes into it, and we don't
Yeah.
celebrate it enough.
And
Like
we
we
don't.
we do our part,
Yeah.
but there's so much that we should be celebrating. The
Absolutely.
fact that you've overcome all these things, and
Right.
every story is different.
Right. I
So
like
that-
the way you put that because that makes. I mean, for me, that's a great way of explaining why is it we're so passionate about black ownership.
Yep.
Right. Because a lot of people on the outside think, oh well, y'all just being biased. This no.
No.
Just keep in mind the historical
Yes.
of where we've come from in terms of home ownership, all the obstacles. And I tell somebody, it's like, just keep in mind that even the disclosures you're signing right now
Yep.
is because of some of the obstacles that were in place. for us to own
Absolutely.
homes. Like, the last one was the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of
Yep.
1977. That's not just a disclosure you're signing just because now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. It's
People
'cause
were
the
taking
bank-
advantage
yeah,
of
the
it.
bank
Yep.
got caught doing something that being biased
Yep.
against a certain group of people. So when those and still we have the thing of appraisal bias.
Yes. Oh my
Right.
gosh. I just told
Yeah.
somebody about this. I just had a client that I helped years ago buy a house in Sacramento. He owns land.
Right.
So he owns this house. He wants to build another house in the back. That's
Right.
what he wants to do. He got an appraisal and he's telling me, man, it just seemed low.
Right.
I said, man, I hate to tell you to do this, but
Right.
I'm gonna need you to do this. Take all your pictures down. Take
Yes.
all your art out. Your neighbor next door, the white guy,
Yeah.
have him be there for that appraisal.
Yeah.
Sure enough, appraisal's up. It happens
It
every
does.
day.
It does.
And so this is still going on,
It
to your
is.
point.
It is, and it's and the Brookings Institute did a research on it, and they found that it's like $36 billion the black community has lost. Now, and these are the things is that we're not saying like, okay, well, like NARAB and BARAP and KRAB and all these organizations that are pushing on the mission of democracy and housing
Yes.
to equalize or push black home ownership. It's not a thing where it's us against you. We need your voices. We need people,
Absolutely.
diverse voices coming in and saying, hey, we understand. We see what's happening because it's the facts and the history is there.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that's one of the things that that for me, and I mean, we only have like 2 more minutes, but that's one of the things I want to end on. And so one of the things we always ask is that you mentioned something about the family, right?
Mhm.
There's 2 important decisions, and this is a question that William always asks the guests, right? So he's like 2 important. I hope I get it right. He's like, there's 2 important things that that you can do to actually when you're thinking about buying a home. One is the person that you marry and the career that you choose. It's going to determine how successful you are in maybe pursuing a home ownership.
Absolutely.
And that comes down to kind of like basically he's asking the family. How important is the family in terms of home ownership today, especially in our community? Because that's something we don't talk about a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
But it is a pivotal factor in
Yeah.
terms of home ownership.
Yeah, it's so much easier when you have peace in the home and you have dual income.
Right. That part.
Coming from Sacramento, home
Right.
prices were a lot lower, and so oftentimes I would help clients that were just single income.
Right.
I moved here and I started helping clients. I said, "Oh, you need 2 incomes. Matter of fact, the kids need to work and the dog needs to work. Everybody needs to be
needs a
bringing
job.
money in, right? And so, yeah, when you have peace, financial peace, emotional peace, and you're bringing in 2 incomes, it just becomes so much easier. And so, oftentimes people say, "Well, that housing process is so hard." Sometimes your circumstances make it hard,
Yeah.
right? Some people, they have it so easy to buy their first home. I tell them, don't tell everybody that it was this easy. 'Cause, it's different for everybody.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's vital.
Awesome,
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, great answer, man. We're gonna wrap up. Just let everybody know, Eric, where they can find you, your taglines, phone number.
Absolutely, yeah. I always say start on Instagram because that's primarily where people reach out to me now,
Yeah.
at Eric Halan. We have a nonprofit organization called Homeowner Prep. You can find Homeowner Prep where we focus on first-time home buyers and helping them leverage their first home.
And what's new for 2026?
We're actually rolling out, we just launched the Future Homeowner Academy, which is going to be a totally online community for first-time home buyers, no matter where they're at in the process.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's our show, folks. It was great hanging out with y'all today, man. You guys, you can see y'all got a lot of nuggets, and we'll see you on the next show. Peace.